Hi guys, Jared here with Day Traders FX. Nice to see you this afternoon. Let's have a look at the daily setups that we have coming into Asian session markets and into the UK markets ultimately. Let's just have a quick peek at how the US has done. You can see that we're just about a half hour before the close. Um, not a super up or down day. I mean, a little bit down, but we've seen some pretty big swings in U.S. equities, and we are going to probably close a little bit down. S&P's down 10, Dow's down about 65, but it's been up 1 or 2 or 300 one day and down the same the next day. So it looks like things are evening out just a little bit. Gold and oil are making very small recoveries, but nothing too crazy and amazing there. We saw a couple of news announcements today. Retail sales came out exactly as expected for the UK. Unemployment claims pretty close to expected. Philly Fed index just a little bit worse than expected, quite a bit worse than expected actually. Then we have the start of the G20 meetings. Coming into tomorrow, remember, we have the core CPI for Canada, and we'll have more G20 meeting action. We don't have a live session tomorrow, remember, so we will just kind of watch things and see how they play out over the next several hours. Okay, so here is the euro dollar. As you can see, it's been a bit of a choppy morning, choppy day. Euro dollar consolidated nicely, and we talked about the run and the move into the missed pivot. And into this upper area yesterday, and it did make it there, and it was a nice little move. And then things just kind of got wild and crazy during the U.S. session today. It was up and down and up, and now it's back down again. And these are not the most favorable trading conditions. The euro's getting pretty choppy, and I'm getting pretty cautious about trading it right now. We want to get some breakouts before we start to, we do want to catch the big pre-summer movement whenever it starts, but we've got to be a little bit cautious and careful of not getting chopped in and out of the market too much. So just a quick look at things. We had a nice double top here, big decline. This ran all the way up, gave us a nice little shooting star right there, just about at the 50% fib of this little movement right here. Looks like there's still some bearish potential, but remember what I said yesterday. On the euro dollar, I want to make sure that we can get some closes below the 200 moving average here on the 4-hour and on the daily chart. That's going to be big time bearish for me, and that's where we'll be able to start hopefully seeing some big declines. So you can see right there, there's our 200 just running right through here on the daily chart, right around 130, 20, 30 area. So I'd like to see a close below that. We have a bearish engulfing candle right here, or just about one, and hopefully that's going to be enough to really get this thing negative. But this is going to be the crucial level. If we can start to get some opens below this 130.25 area, then that puts into scope our bigger targets down here, which are 129, about 129.40 and about 128.75. We might end up with, it looks like we'll definitely end up with a bit of a bearish candle here, making a new high, so that might have some further pressure on it. Plus, you can also see that it looks like we're working on a bit of a head and shoulders pattern here. So ultimately, here's kind of some shorter term and longer term plays that I'm going to be looking at here on the euro dollar. I think we're going to be good, keeping the head in place here. So I'd like to short against about 13200. Now you can see that we're about 150 pips off of that. So the couple of things that I will probably be looking at doing is I'm probably going to look at a short-term trade against this high, which is 130.95. That's the daily high for today. And if we get a little bit closer to that, maybe up into about 130.75 or so, somewhere we can just have 20 pip stops and keep it tight. I'll probably try to short against this area for the moment because again we have big bearish engulfing candles here on the daily. We have possible reversal candle here on the 4-hour, and we have these big targets down here that are kind of sucking the market towards them. So again, I think we'll do pretty good if we can get an entry as close to this high as possible, which again is 130.70 or 130.95, and we'll be trading against that with entries hopefully around 130.75, 130.80, something very, very tight. I don't want to risk more than 20 pips max, 15 to 20 pips against this. If we break that, then I'm going to be looking to re-short against this high here, which is 130.200. But again, I would be looking to enter, probably within 30 or 40 pips of that high to short as well. So we'll be kind of keeping an eye on that, but I think that's going to be my short-term play on the euro dollar for the moment. The pound dollar's been all over the place. Also a bit of a wild morning. We had some spikes here, and then it just got really kind of crazy. Nice little double bottom on this pound dollar. Some pretty good, pretty good bullish candles right here. Everything's looking pretty active and so on. You can see that the pound dollar is just getting real kind of choppy and kind of crazy in there. And so we're still just playing out nicely. Sorry for all the lines. I just have a lot of details here that I can't get rid of just yet. But we're still playing out nicely in this channel, and we're kind of in the middle of the channel. We have about 200 pips to the top and 100 to the bottom, so we're a little bit more on the lower side of the channel. It looks like so far though that things are, hopefully and maybe continuing back into the bearish situation. And so what I would like to do ultimately here is the same thing on the pound dollars. I want to I want to look at shorting against this high first of all, which is around 153.12, just the daily high, and I want to get in a little bit closer to that. Once again, probably around 152.90, 95 would be a good area to start shorting this pound dollar with very tight stops. Once again, very tight stops against this high. If that breaks, then I'm going to be looking at shorting against these highs right here. We already had a long-term trade on the pound dollar here at 153.65, and with stops up here, and we've moved things down and taken profit and so on. So I'm looking for re-entries against this high ultimately for a short-term trade, and for a longer-term trade, I'm going to be going against 153.75, 80 area to short this pound dollar. I think there's some good bearish potential here, so we just kind of have to ride out the chop a little bit and start looking for those entries. So I think we'll have some good stuff there. Aussie dollar is I'm getting kind of torn on the Aussie dollar here. It's safe to say that I'm pretty bearish on the Aussie dollar, but a couple of things, what the Aussie dollar does is runs down and reverses like crazy and reverses like crazy and reverses. And so, as you can see, there's a lot of kind of crazy direction here. I still would like to see the Aussie dollar reach about parity, and I think it can / should. But as it stands, things are so choppy. We have some missed targets down here around 152.50, or excuse me, 102.50 and 101.75. So there's good pressure to the downside. Here's one thing that I'm looking at though. It almost looks like we're putting in a little short-term bottom right here. There's all these kind of failed attempts at breaking lower, and it really seems to be holding. It's just below 10300 right now. It's 102.99 actually for the moment, but it seems to really be holding around this 102, 75, 80 area, and on the longer term time frames, it doesn't really seem like it's able to close below 10300 just yet. And so that's going to be crucial. So I'm actually on kind of semi-high alert that we might get a break to the upside on this Aussie dollar here, and so I don't think that would be totally out of the question. And if we do, we're going to be looking at some targets up here, 200 moving average, some of that stuff. And so I'm just going to kind of be watching this. I'm not looking to get short on the Aussie dollar yet. I want to see it possibly break this trend line and then short it against some of these upper areas here, like the 200, maybe the weekly pivot somewhere in there. But basically, safe to say I'm not doing anything on the Aussie dollar just yet. Gold's flattening and channeling. Euro yen is starting to kind of, you can see that we're getting some wedges in here in the works, and so we're just going to watch this. I'm very cautious about trading the euro yen, but watch for these breakouts. Go in very small, scale into trades, start very small, and add to trades as they are in profit. And we should see some nice breakouts and nice movements on the euro yen. Aussie yen, I kind of like this Aussie yen because I think that we have, you can see that there's possibly some bigger upper targets, breakouts to the upside with some upper targets in line as well. So if the Aussie, yen breaks above some of these trend lines or down below this right here, I think we might get some good movement. But again, those are just kind of some very basic guidelines. I'm being very cautious with that one, but we've got some nice setups between euro dollar, pound dollar, Aussie dollar, so let's wait for those. Let's get some pips out of those movements and mark those levels on your charts. Pause, rewind the video, make sure you're ready for those movements because they should be pretty fantastic once they do happen. So best of luck, guys, and we will see you in the chat.